out that we need to manually enter the scores. It's relying on us. That's all good.
So any errors in the score box, entirely Ed's fault. All right, he's
Good
made
shot.
the recovery roquet. See if he can rebuild here. And he leave red deep in the corner.
Yeah, pretty straightforward flat mallet stroke here, getting yellow most of the way to hoop 3, getting a rush on blue. Any player at the top level should be able to play this pretty well under control, and that's not too bad.
Looks like he got a great rush.
Yep. Or a little bit of a cut, half ball, but I'd be happy with that from there.
Yeah, the trick
tried
on
to
those,
maximise yellow.
when it's an angle with a bit of a split there, the trick is to get the line for the rush without roqueting the ball on the croquet stroke.
Yeah.
So the difficulty there, because you're playing an angle, that's just a very small difference in how you play the shot to actually change the angle. For every, 10 degrees
Blue's
you're
long.
offline, it changes the line of your ball 20 degrees.
That's
So
a good shot from Matthew as well. He'll have a longish return, but it will be a rush to yellow.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's-
he's wanting to get a few easy hoops under his belt, so
Yep.
this one that he can just hit with full strength.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, get it out of the way. Loosen up the shoulders a bit. Just play through. Strong through the hoop. Good
All
shot.
the way to the boundary.
4-yard return, okay.
Now, how old
a
were
bit of
you
a
when you
rush.
started playing, Ed?
I'm only 13. I'm not the youngest around. Look, a lot of people start when they're quite a lot younger than.
Well,
than
you're
myself.
about the youngest in the tournament. It's like
Oh,
you and
we've
Matthew
got-
about the same age?
Yeah, me and Matt are both. He's a '98 boy, isn't he? Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that we've got Logan McCorkindale and James Galpin, who are both younger than Matthew or myself. And it's excellent to have a range of young people getting into the knockout as well. Not just competing, but actually making some good inroads in the tournament.
Yeah, by 13, Matthew had started playing AC, but long before that, I think, as early as 4 and 7, he was playing American rules doubles with
Oh,
his
really?
grandfather.
Fantastic.
So he's been using that
Yeah,
Solomon
well
grip since
practiced.
it was necessary to actually swing the mallet with any strength.
Now,
Oh, that's
we've
hard luck.
got a couple of interesting shots here. So blue is gone well short of hoop 4, and he's just about rushed into death position here. You need to play this shot quite strong, because the most necessary thing is for black to go through the hoop. Luckily,
Yellow's
Matthew
going to take
hits
a lot of
down.
the momentum of that ball.
Exactly. And if it doesn't go through, it doesn't go through. But if it does, it is hoop and roquet. So he's got to get black through the hoop.
I wonder if yellow moved after it had settled. If that's why he's calling the ref, because otherwise this is
Yeah.
not too close. If this were within 6 inches, he might have to call a ref just for his actual shot. But I think he's asking.
So I'm not a referee.
Or
but
if it fell, if it's in
if
the
it's
hoop, it might not
actually
be a hoop and
to-
roquet.
Exactly. Whether it's across the playing side. That's an excellent shot.
Well done. That
Matthew
solves all the problems.
naturally plays quite down on the ball in his hoop strokes, and he did that very effectively there, but slightly further down on the ball, so it got a lot of top spin and jumped.
Yeah, the real risk was going clear over yellow
Yeah.
and having either a long return roquet to a ball that you've now left stuck in a hoop, or having to rebuild off blue and red when neither one was a very good pioneer at 4.
Yep.
So it looks like he'll be planning to get red out of the corner after hoop 4 because of that
Yeah.
poorly placed blue ball.
Yep. Yeah, he's playing it
Depends
west. East rather.
Yeah, yellow is a bit north and east of where you would want it. I guess preferably you'd want it straight in front of 5 if you're going to go get that corner ball
Yeah.
after hitting blue.
Will he attempt to roquet red directly or rush blue towards red?
I think
and dig it
blue's
out?
position is that he's going to try to play it precise and see if he can rush close, maybe get a rush on red,
Okay.
and that'll make better use of that poorly placed yellow ball.
Okay.
Because he doesn't want to have to roll from red to yellow So this will just be slowly digging the ball out. This happens in the American rules game he's quite used to, where we can't rush balls out of bounds. When you have to incorporate a
he'd do
line
that
ball, you would rush close without rushing out of bounds, and you often trade a ball that's 9 inches from the boundary for you leave a ball that's 3 yards from the boundary, and then roll the line ball back into the court. And you have to come back to the corner 2 or 3 times to really incorporate the fourth ball into your break, because we don't have the freedom of rushing out of bounds and
Yep.
getting behind it, because the balls are 9 inches in bounds.
Yep.
So this is something he's very used to,
So
is coming to the corner ball a couple times to dig it out. So he's trading a ball that's 2, 3 yards out of the corner for a ball that's now 7, 8 yards out of the corner.
in
and should
American
get this
rules, can
incorporated.
striker's ball go out of bounds after you've rocated another ball? So,
Yes.
for instance, there Matthews cut right into the lawn and striker's ball's gone out.
Yes, that's fine. Once the ball in hand is not critical after a roquet. But yeah, the ball that you hit must stay in bounds, and of course, just like AC, the croquet balls must both stay in bounds.
Okay.
And when you score a hoop, you have to stay in bounds. So
Gee.
we were talking earlier this week when we transitioned back to American. I believe Matthew himself was saying that is where most of his American rules turns break down when he has a break together.
He just
Is he'll
goes out.
swish hoop 4 and it'll just creep out of bounds because we're not used to having to hit with touch on those even hoops.
Yep.
Until you get to American rules. And if you get a little nervy 1.5 yarder with a slight angle, it's quite difficult to play the pace correctly when you're worried about the boundary like that. It looks like he's got this pretty well together. Just got to watch out for these lighter colored spots in front of the hoops. They all seem to be wanting to roll a bit.
Yep.
As both players experienced over there at hoop 1 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, he got the rush back. So again, just like American rules, you got to rush that corner ball 2-3 times to really end up with a proper 4-ball break. Fun fact, in that red Nike hat, Matthew keeps his records based on what hat he wears. He is 47-9 with that red hat on. So this is his version of Tiger Woods wearing red on Sunday. This is his Sunday red cap.
Fantastic.
And he's got
has he worn
quite
it
a good record.
for most of the tournament?
Well, there was a bit of an issue with his father as he unboxed a well-preserved hat from, I think, the 2005 Masters, the golf tournament at Augusta National that his father had been saving. And Matthew really liked the off-white color. He unboxed it and was wearing that, which caused a bit of strife between John and himself. But they seem to have settled it, as Matthew brought that to Australia to wear for a lot of the week. And I believe he was
Gee.
saving the red hat for later in this elimination. But he's been wearing it definitely the last 2 days.
Good
So
on him.
he's increased that record. And this hat,
And he
may be
was-
one of his best.
He was happy enough to wear this hat instead of the cream hat for the finals, because he obviously played extremely well in the off-white to get here.
Yeah, I think he incorporated the red hat Friday, if I'm not mistaken. So
Friday.
the last couple matches
Very good
against
quarterfinals onwards.
Yeah, Felix and Robert Fletcher.
Yep.
He's had this red hat.
Well, I'm going to get replaced by Gareth Denyer in the box.
All right, thank you, Ed.
Thanks,
Have a
Ben.
good day. Oh, what's that? Go Matthew? Oh, thanks, Ed.
Oh, thanks very much, Ed. That's fantastic to get your insight into this game, and it's fantastic to see Matt making some hoops.
Yeah, he was upset he didn't get the rush on blue, so he had
Yes.
to do that roll, but it's quite a good result from the roll. Ended up within a foot of his Pioneer there
Yeah.
with a good enough position to rush it, and blue is a very nice
Yeah.
spot at one back.
And now it looks
He'll
like
be happy.
a textbook position, doesn't it?
Right, so the classic 4-ball break. I don't
Yep.
know quite our the makeup of our listeners here, but for the classic 4-ball break, he'll have a ball at his current hoop that is red. He sent blue ahead to his next hoop as the Pioneer, and yellow is known as the pivot ball. So he will use that in between. So red will go from being his now reception ball behind hoop 6. He's going to send it ahead to hoop 8, and then he will hit yellow as the pivot and use those 2 shots to get to blue, which is his Pioneer at hoop 7. Let's see, he's for 7. Oh, you guys don't.
Yeah.
All right. Again, the scoreboard issues.
So
1B instead of 7. All right. I've been playing too much golf croquet, as you may have heard.
and reasonably successfully as well.
Unreasonably, from my estimations. I was very, very fortunate this year.
I mean, many of us were watching your heroics there in Brighton and my hometown actually, and again great coverage, fantastic commentary from all the guys in England.
Okay, so what do you think is bothering Matthew here? What's he thinking about?
I can't imagine. I mean, is he thinking about his leave? So Simon Jenkins told us early this morning when Pete and I were getting ready that he would like to pop back down at some stage and give some insight into some interesting variations that Matt was going to use.
Well, as long as Reg isn't listening.
No. Well, of course, Reg might be listening to get my tips, but I think that's slightly slightly
We're just
unlikely.
hoping that Simon doesn't give Reg any insights into Matthew's head.
But this is great. I mean, we might get to see what this special maneuver is that.
So the
Matt
fact
has
that Reg has both balls on 1 means that Matthew isn't concerned which of the balls he leaves at hoop 2 for his new standard.
Everything
I
is
think
symmetrical.
what he was considering, since he finally had all 4 balls together, he knows he's going to set his NSL, or if he gets good control, the Malm standard MSL.
Which he's said a lot in this tournament, hasn't he?
It's when I was taught the NSL, most players were putting the ball close to hoop 2, so it was similar to the Malm standard. Malm has a very fine idea of where to put that ball, but it looks like Matthew has changed his mind. So this is quite odd because he's been
the yellow ball's
setting
come out a lot further west, hasn't it?
Normally he would have put yellow tight behind the hoop if he was. So that's what he was considering. I guess he was considering changing up his leave from the new standard.
Yep.
So we'll see what he cooks up. This might be a diagonal. I don't imagine he's reverted to an old standard just yet. So this is quite an odd decision. We'll see what he's come up with.
No, particularly surprising since he has used the MSL every single time I've seen him be in that position where he's had the choice.
Yeah. So previously, he had spoken about, I think in his match yesterday with Robert Fletcher, setting the NSL where he moves his 2 balls further north along the east boundary to try to encourage a shot down the east boundary when that boundary is really treacherous and has a lot of break. And then I believe he learned that it doesn't break until it was about level with hoop 5. So he was actually had to move it further south because he didn't want to encourage the shot because the east boundary didn't break until late along that line. Yeah. But he has kind of changed. He might be setting the NSL where he's going to put all 3 balls at 3 back. He could still set an NSL. He can no longer get that ball nice and tight to hoop 2 without a lot of work.
This
but
is
he
a
has
longer
not left a ball.
Longer approach to 2 back than he would have wanted.
It's possible he just didn't want to have a 3 ball for these 2 hoops, but it is quite unusual. If he were setting the diagonal, he would have thrown one of those balls to the peg already, his partner for sure.
Okay, he doesn't like the way that came through. He got a lot of wire on there and it sent it out to the west side a bit.
Yeah, in the States, we don't have quadways at a lot of venues.
No.
So when we have tough hoops, it's because they're set very tight and not necessarily rigid in the ground because we don't have a lot of venues with a soil or clay base. So the sand base, it doesn't ever get so tight in the ground. So when we have difficult championship hoops, it's because the gap is very, very tight.
Yes.
And what happens then is when you're playing on the finals day with, a 32nd of an inch, 64th of an inch, that ball comes through perfectly straight.
Yes.
If the hoops have been set properly.
Whereas these hoops are difficult for a different reason.
These hoops are difficult because of firmness, not necessarily width. So they are trying to get them to a 32nd. I think in the tournament regs they said 16 to a 32nd, and for the finals they were going to reserve the right to set them tighter. But these are difficult because of the rigidity and the fact that those stanchions are supposed to be the same width from top to bottom.
Yes.
So
Yes,
he
and
can,
they
you
don't
can actually come through at some angles, which I think is what he was upset with.
Yes, they don't flex as much, do they? You can't bully them in the same way that you can bully one of the old cast iron hoops.
That's correct. Yeah, the trick there is that in New Zealand last month we played with quadways at the Golf Croquet World Teams, and while you couldn't bully them traditionally, when you hit as hard as the Egyptians or Sharif, our Egyptian American, or most of the New Zealand team, he's got to stay away from that hoop.
No, he manages to navigate
that
safely
nicely.
past it. Yep.
So when you hit that hard, you can still bully these. And so a lot of those players were shooting tough 3-yard angled hoop shots with a very, slight, maybe 3-inch jump shot.
Yes.
So the way they hit the ball hard, as Felix Webby will have hit his hit-ins earlier, Edmund Fordyce hitting very straight, but also with a bit of a jump. And so while fewer people could bully these hoops, found that when you hit that hard, they were still being bullied from some tough angles.
And you're saying, Ben, as well, that the ball isn't actually running the hoop as it's rolling along the ground. It's actually a couple of inches in the air at that stage.
Yes, and hit hard enough that with a high-speed camera, if you looked at it, you can see that they're still moving.
Oh, okay.
So less bullyable, but it's still, for some of those really hard-hitting players, they were still bullying it. So now we'll see what he sets. So this is...
tell us about that red ball that's all the way over to the east there. That's and he's actually going for it first.
Right. So this is sometimes you can set the NSL even if you didn't get the break together till late by just having all 3 balls behind 3 back, and that's effectively what he's done here, although they're not in the ideal positions, but the idea is to send away the deep ball first, the far ball.
So that's going all the way to the west now?
This won't be the Mom standard where you would have the ball tight in hoop 2, unrushable to 1, in a position where you could hit it from 4 or 5 yards and it would stay in front of hoop 2. He's just going to be able to set the classic new standard leave, where this is a ball over on the west side, preferably still 16 to 18 yards, if you can, from the
interesting bit of wind getting up now. The flag's all fluttering. We haven't had much wind this morning. The lawns are drying out quite a lot.
Yeah, the wind will pick up the moisture. So he didn't get red quite as far,
No,
so
red
that might be a bit short from B-Bach if Reg were to lift yellow and shoot from B-Bach.
Yeah, we noticed that
this still gives Matthew a good chance to put his partner over in position and then take off to yellow. See if he has better luck, because in the first game he had a scenario where he had to hit partner before he placed this ball at the hoop.
Yes, that's
and
right.
he got unlucky there and ended up leaving it open.
That's right. He had to, and he retreated into corner 4, and Reg picked him off in there. Yes, he'd left. We got a nice camera angle on that as well, with him leaving the ball that he meant to have wide at hoop 4 really very exposed. So he thought retreating was a better idea, but Reg doesn't mind taking a 10 or 11 yarder.
No, I'm sure he'd be happy to get control if it didn't give away too much. So it is possible that by lifting yellow, he won't make Matthew's peeling effort that much easier. So he may very well shoot the short shot at red. It will give a ball slightly closer to hoop 1 for Matthew to work with. But on the new standard leave, if he lifts red instead of yellow, the idea is that Matthew would have a chance at a standard triple where he gets that first peel after hoop 3. So the fact that lifting yellow and shooting at red is shorter and doesn't give Matthew an earlier peel attempt might be something Reg considers.
Yeah.
And at this level, you generally trust your opponent to finish their peeling turn, as Reg did in game 1. So you would try to hit the shortest possible hit-in, so long as you weren't giving away a whole lot. It's the classic risk-reward calculation that comes up in all of croquet. And the risk of giving a slight advantage to your opponent is worth the reward of an easier hit-in.
So Ben, Matt is calling the referee here. Is this because his takeoff from this position is going to be so fine he wants the referee to to watch it, or
No,
is
it's a self-officiated game, so I'm sure
Yeah.
it's not that. And Reg wouldn't be concerned either, even if Matthew wanted
Yeah.
to take off and just wiggle the ball.
Is it
It
maybe
must
a
be the hoop,
hoop
or
hole,
or
an
the
old hoop
holes.
hole? Yep.
So whether the
Yep.
hoop is in the way and it might be hampered, or if it's just in old hoop holes and he wants to move it maybe an inch or two. If it's in a hole, that's very hard to do. If you
Yeah.
move it enough to get out of the hole, it might roll 4 or 5 inches, especially as the wind is picked up and sped up the lawn. Whereas if you hit it gently, it'll just stay in the hole. And obviously,
Yeah,
he
and
does
he
not
doesn't
want to
want
leave
that.
Reg
Yeah.
another
No.
8-yarder.
So the
Yeah.
gardening committee have come out, and they'll go and get their gardening implements to.
So that
So-
gives us a great opportunity to thank the referees who have been volunteering for
yep.
9 days now.
Absolutely.
And that's just on court duty. I'm sure they had to travel here, they had to prepare, they had referee meetings with Liz Fleming, head referee.
And they've had to
So
drive
thank
us
you
out
for
to
their
venues
efforts.
as well. They've been doing all sorts of things, and it's not. They've a couple of them have been telling me about the motels they've been staying in. It's not an easy thing for them. It's so very much appreciated. And there's Stephen Howes from Sydney. He's staring long and hard at that ball. So Ben, you were mentioning earlier the position of the red ball and how it hasn't gone as far to the west as you might normally expect.
No, it's
And therefore that it presents some sort of target to Reg if he wants. It's not a shot that we see very often, is it? We don't see you guys shooting at that ball.
no,
very
because
regularly.
if you shoot the short shot, which I think if that ball is level with hoop 5 and straight in front of hoop 2 there, that would be about a 16-yarder. Let me stand up, see if I could get a view of that. Yeah, so that's about 16 yards from B-Bach. So that is shorter than a lot of the shots from A-Bach at Matthew's 2 balls, unless... so we'll see. It might be shorter. It might be 13, 14 yards. So, again, the reward of having a shorter hit-in is then couched by the risk that if Reg misses from B-Bach, that ball will go dangerously close to hoop 1. It'll be on the boundary, but instead of Matthew having to rush to hoop 1 from 14 or 18 yards, he'll be rushing from 10 yards.
Yep.
So it makes Matthew's build a bit easier. For Matthew's purposes, if, say, Reg lifted yellow and missed down into corner 4, which would be one of the most defensive shots he could take, Matthew can rush to hoop 1, and Red is in a great position as a hoop 2 pioneer.
Yeah.
So that is the Mom standard. You're generally attempting to leave a ball as a hoop 2 pioneer. The new standard, you would like to have that ball a little farther away. Well, the advantage of the Mom standard is when that ball is in hoop 2 or close to it, it is very difficult to hit from B-Bach because the hoop is in the way. That is not the case with this red position here.
Where does Matt set the rush here, Ben? Is he setting the rush towards the red, or is he setting it sort of flat so he can either cut it to hoop 1 or,
Yeah, if you set it directly to hoop 1, it would probably be a double target
Yep.
from spots on A-Bach, so he won't do that. He doesn't want to rush to red. That's more of the diagonal spread leave.
Yep.
With that, and even in a diagonal spread, if you had a red ball where it is, you would want to have a chance to just rush your partner directly to hoop 1. So he's set the leave. He's happy with yellow. We know
it is
because
very flat, isn't it?
it's very flat.
yeah,
So
yeah.
hopefully not a double from A-Bach for Matthew's sake. But because it's pointed almost directly at hoop 5, it's a very narrow cut, maybe 15 degrees to the left, to get that ball over to hoop
Yeah.
1. And if Reg were to leave red there, then Matthew would have a good 3-ball break with
Yeah.
just 1 rush.
That's right, and a nice view there of the situation with the orientation of that rush. Reg taking his customary sip of water before marching out and having a look. So what would you lift here, Ben, if you were Reg?
Reg is up a game, and Matthew has just had his first real break in about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So I can imagine that Reg wants to make it difficult on Matthew. So I could see him taking a defensive shot where he plays either red or yellow down that east boundary
Yeah,
line,
yeah. So
possibly at blue or black. So
Yeah.
that if he misses into the corner.
Yeah.
If he's feeling quite good on his hit-in, which having watched his last hit-in where I think He attempted to go at a ball near corner 4 and missed it by about a yard.
Yes, it was a quite a wide miss, wasn't it?
It would be odd for him to be so confident to pick up and shoot the short shot when he's ahead a game. His last shot was definitely not to his standard, and he wants to make this difficult on Matthew. Both of them have failed position, so if he can make the build more difficult, it's possible he gets a shorter shot before this game is over.
So it looks like he's picking up the red.
Okay, so
And
yep,
he's coming down to A bulk.
Okay, so he does not like that B block. So this will give Matthew a bit of an easier build if he wants it.
We noticed that Reg's pre-game warm-up is very strongly focused on sussing out the boundaries. He's whereas Matt and yesterday with Ed, they were doing a lot of hoop approaches, a bit of rushing and so on. Reg was really putting a lot of work into working out the fall on the boundaries.
Well, having played doubles with Reg, I know that some of his favorite leaves are when opponents have finessed into corners or it's a really difficult build. He's happy to leave balls just a yard or two off that yard line and then make sure that the hidden chances he gives are 30, 35 yards plus.
Right.
So he needs to know those boundaries if he's going to come back to those balls, rush all the way down a boundary to get a rush behind one of those balls that's only a yard or two off. So that does seem to check out for his tactics. Now
he's given himself a long way. So do you think that he's shaping to give himself a double on the black and the blue, or is there a slither of the yellow showing that he might be trying to clip?
That's a good question. I don't think black is lined up poorly enough to give him a double.
The player, then we'll get a good view of that.
Yeah, I don't think that Matthew messed up the rush line there, so it shouldn't be a double with black and blue, but he might be creating a bit of a double, adding the half of yellow to one of these shots.
We might be lucky and deploy Blake, our roving cameraman, to behind Reg.
Corner,
so that would be very pleasant if we could do that. And get a view of what Reg can see.
Yeah, so this leave, the new standard,
there we go.
And the when they lift the hoop 2 ball or the mom standard, is meant to give Matthew a standard triple attempt if this shot is missed, even if it's missed a corner 2. Now, the problem is with the diagonal spread, you might not shoot this short shot because it gives a chance at the standard triple. But this leave, Matthew is going to get an opportunity for the standard triple anyway, so it doesn't cost Reg as much to try the shot.
No, so a bit of yellow showing by the looks of things. And well.
So he's hit the hoop. He was hoping to get a bit of yellow, and
so he was possibly trying to make a 1.5 sort of thing from blue and yellow, and
he's missed on the wrong side.
Missed on the wrong side of it and spun away. And Matthew now. So how'd you build the break from here, Ben?
Well, I believe he's gonna put black onto the court in a position that it's basically a pivot, and not in the way.
Yep.
And then he's gonna try to rush red back into the corner. Again, this leave is strong in that you can get a standard triple attempt, an easier finish, but because it's already strong, there wasn't much cost for Reg to take the shorter shot. And even though Reg hit a hoop and stayed in bounds, which would normally be a great advantage, it doesn't actually improve Matthew's building effort. In fact, now Matthew had to rush this ball into the corner. So he almost would have preferred
if Reg had shot down the line and
missed into the corner. So now Matthew's back into familiar territory. As if Reg had missed into the corner, and he just pops black on the court to be his pivot ball, and then he'll send red ahead to hoop 2, and hopefully get the rush on yellow to hoop 1. This is where the new standard leave. This is the shot that you must practice.
That's right.
Hundreds of times.
This is what you guys are practicing all the time. Is starting the break from this position.
Right. It's one of the longest distances you could send the red ball from the corner 4 all the way to hoop 2. and you need to grab the rush to hoop 1 on yellow.
And the
so
yellow
this
is
is a shot Matthew likes, otherwise he wouldn't be doing this
and
leave.
that's a pretty good result.
It looks nice, yeah.
And the yellow is always a long way away from the hoop, so it's not likely to come into. It's not like to be hampered by that hoop.
It is meant to be rushable to 1. There was a situation yesterday in the semifinals where Matthew put the ball a bit into the hoop, and Robert Fletcher actually did him the favor of lifting that ball that was in the hoop and playing that. I believe it was a scenario where that was Robert's back ball, so that was the ball he wanted to play. I could be wrong there, but it was also possible that Robert was shooting well enough that he didn't want to have to build a break from a ball stuck in the hoop. He was confident he would hit, although he did not hit that shot, and gave Matthew a building opportunity.
Okay.
So here Matthew is played
okay.
cautiously short because of the
it's
dry spot there.
You can see how dry that is around that first hoop.
And as Ed noticed, he's got the mallet angle down a bit.
Yes,
to add some.
There was
some
a little
top
bit of a
spin.
wobble there as it came through, but
Let's see if he's
absolutely
hampered.
fine.
Doesn't look hampered.
No.
Looks like he's happy with it.
Yeah.
He's not testing this or
No.
making any quacking noises.
And are you guys all staying in the same place?
I don't know if that's broadcast information, but yes, for one more night, we have read an Airbnb here in the nearby town of St. Albans with
yes.
Matthew and a few of the other American players, including the English expat Simon Jenkins.
Oh, yep.
And Sharif Abdul Wahab and Stephen Morgan.
And you've enjoyed a bit of Vietnamese cuisine over in St. Albans?
For sure.
Yep.
Plenty of pho. There's a nice Indian joint. We've basically been living at the kebab shop a couple blocks away. Shout out. Very nice kebabs over there.
Excellent. All right.
It's, what is it? The Grill House.
The grill house, yes. Yeah.
So now Matthew has given up on putting that hoop 1 reception ball at hoop 3, and he's swapping it for this pivot ball. So he's going to put black at hoop 3, and that is one of the great advantages of the new standard leave, is that instead of his hoop 1 reception ball, which was yellow, going to be his pioneer at 3, he's swapping it so black is the pioneer at 3.
And that's the one he wants to peel.
That's going to make it a lot easier for him to get the peel, because that first peel on a standard triple is hopefully, for Matthew's sake, a nice, easy back peel. Right after he makes hoop 3 going south, he will tap partner and peel it through 4-back going north. So this is the key to getting these triples under control, is if you can have your partner as your hoop 3 pioneer. Now it's just a matter of bringing a second ball over there. So he's got things under control.
That should be all right, because this red will be going down to hoop 4, won't it? And and then he'll get a rush on that yellow up towards hoop 3.
Yeah, he still has the option for a swap. There are scenarios where he might send red over to 3 and rush yellow to the north boundary, and yellow could go to 4. Whichever ball he sends to 4, it won't be his partner, because his partner is the pioneer there at 3. And so it sets him up where he still has the flexibility of which ball he wants at hoop 4. And either way, red or yellow, he will have his partner there at hoop 3 and have a good opportunity to get the peel.
All right.
So now he is for 3 and 4 back. A familiar situation that did not work out in the last game.
No. And in fact, he has blobbed hoop 3 a couple of times in the first game. So
yeah, so one of the skills of being a top sportsman is having a short memory.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's able to focus.
A short memory for certain things and a long memory for others.
Exactly. Selective memory is key.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
So it looks like you were right there. He's hit red gently enough that he'll be able to stop red down to 4 and get the rush on yellow.
Yep.
Then he'll have
and then we'll
red is that pioneer ahead at 4, and he'll have black and yellow nice and close to hoop 3. Oh no, he's
a little bit.
Oh, it's just he's doing a
Tiny
roll shot.
little half sort of.
So yeah, some of these shots have changed a bit. We I don't know if you've had the discussions about the Humpty balls. These
Yes, there's been lots of discussion about the Humpty balls.
The slightly different play of these newer plastic balls, which I'm told there's some conversation about whether they're actually new or whether it was 10 years ago. It's possible that the older plastic version of the Dawsons were just so robust and already spread around the world that we're only seeing clubs play with these newer ones recently. But what the players have found is that the rushing is a little bit less lively.
Yes.
And the croquet strokes are a little bit different. So everybody had to adjust their roll shots a bit to get the ratios they need.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion on the chat from the people watching online, and then this morning when we had Chris Clark in the commentary booth, he talked a lot about the new balls. So
well, then
I'll
mark that down as previously discussed.
Interested listeners will.
So Matthew avoided the trouble Reg had in the last game,
Yeah,
where Reg had rushed that ball to straight in front.
Yeah.
Matthew did a good job of getting it past the center line,
Yeah.
so he could put
Yeah.
Red straight behind. And now he very much likes to do these peels without draw if he
Yeah.
can get away with it.
And how
So I
you
think
how
he
you
might do
finding
that.
the pull, or as you put it, the draw with these balls, Ben? Have you?
I actually found the pull quite consistent. I was happy with the pull. Oh, he is going to get the rush on yellow just to be safe.
Yep.
So the fact that
He's
he
happy
got
with the jaws.
Yep, that should work.
Yep. I noticed that Matt doesn't think about a particular part of the ball that he's going to use when he's placing them for the peel, whereas a lot of players put a lot of effort into trying to find this spot on the ball that has less of the milling.
It's a consistency thing. It doesn't bother Matthew, I guess. So he's
Do you do that though? Do you try to find? Is there a special spot for you when you're doing your peels?
Yep. You find the logo, put the logo in the air,
Yep.
and
Yep.
have the circle that is on one of the